Hey everybody, we are back, and it is finally that season again to start doing some cold hardy citrus reviews. Now, to the untrained eye, it may have looked like I just put a couple of limes here on the cutting board, but these are actually two unripe, or let's say almost ripe varieties of cold hardy citrus straight from the farm. So I'm proud to say that a few of these varieties this year are actually being grown by us. We don't have to source these fruits. These are from our own plants, and not just that. While this is a second year Thomasville graft, this is a first year Keraji Mandarin graft that we performed on trifoliate rootstock, and it actually bloomed and fruited, and we got an appreciable sized fruit off of it. So, of course, while it isn't fully ripe, I did want to pick it before it started getting too cold and putting too much stress on the little plant. I was actually really amazed it produced this kind of fruit in its first year. And several other plants did try too, but we didn't let them all. But this will be a cool one to taste because I've heard a lot of interesting things about Keraji Mandarin, kind of tasting like lemonade. So we're going to put that to the test today and see. You can see it's starting to color up with a little bit of yellow there, so hopefully that's promising. But despite its color, the inside did seem to have some good color and a good aroma to it as well. And I believe it was Tom McClendon on his channel, he did a Keraji review, and he actually found that even at the green stage, they were pretty good tasting. So this is closer towards the end of our season, and depending where you live, this might be closer to what you'd be harvesting anyways, depending on the length of your growing season. But of course, a first year graft, flowering, fruiting, setting fruit, and then ripening the fruit is a pretty tall order. So next year we'll have a lot better chance of having a real good ripe fruit to review. But here we have our classic Thomasville Citrangequat. And what's interesting about the Thomasville Citrangequat is you can eat it at several stages of ripeness. I've had this green, I've had it kind of yellow in between, and I've had it orange and then overripe orange. So basically, if you let these get fully orange and wait too long, they will get squishy and soft and kind of bland, not so good tasting. They just kind of taste like a dry supermarket orange. But if you harvest them at one of the earlier stages, like this for example, when they're green like this, they're supposed to be, and I found they're fairly lime-like. So you could use this as a sour citrus substitute in your cooking. Now if you let them get a little more yellow, I find they have more of that kumquat, calamandan-esque taste, basically where they have the edible slightly sweet peel and the tartar juice inside. But this is a good example of what Thomasville is going to look like for a lot of you who are gardening in colder zones. And maybe it's just warm enough where you can grow Thomasville Citrangequat outdoors, but maybe you can't fully ripen its fruits. Because its fruits, even though it sets a lot and it's fairly everbearing, it'll keep blooming throughout the year. But the fruit probably won't ripen to that full orange color in a lot of zones. So here in North Carolina, at this time of year, this is what we're looking at. And it's actually, there's some spots that we're starting to yellow up ever so slightly, and I can feel a little bit of give in the skin, so that might be a good sign for what's inside. We'll see if the inside's yellow, green, whatever color it is. But I also have my notes here, just so we can take some brief notes on some of the aspects about the fruits as we go about this review. I would do this normally on the Excel sheet that I have and keep track of the flavors. I'm mostly curious about our Keraji here. Thomasville we already have some notes on, but I did want to see fresh from the farm at this time of year what the fruit quality was like. So perhaps we will start with something familiar. We'll go with the Thomasville. So we're just going to give this a nice little cut, and you know what, before I finish cutting, let me give this a smell. Oh yeah. It's already got a pretty prominent orange smell. So it smells as if I was cutting into an orange. Quite nice. It's perhaps slightly stronger than an orange. And look at that, wow. So you can see at this stage, it's still green. It actually just looks like a small lime. Let me move these over. So it just looks like a small lime. It's not too seedy. Usually these can be either seedless or just have a few seeds in them, really. But definitely very juicy. And we can probably just go straight to giving this a quick little taste test. Again, the skin's not too bitter, given that it has kumquat heritage, so it's usually not too bad to just dive in like this. Oh yeah. So it's sour, tart taste. Not too sour though. Lime-like. It doesn't have that signature lime flavor, but you could definitely use this as a lime or as a lemon in cooking. And it has that orange taste in it too. At this stage, it's more like if you crossed a lime and an orange. You don't get too much of the kumquat. Yeah, not too much. You don't get really any at all trifoliate bitterness. Yeah, not that I can taste. At certain stages with different other trifoliate hybrids, even the more complex ones like Citrangequat, you can detect some trifoliate in the background, but I'm not getting it too much on this. Well, at all really. So that's very good. I'm going to take a little nibble of the peel here and see. And you know what, even at this green stage, the peel's not bad. So I took a little bite there. And yeah, that's not really bitter at all. It's not as sweet as it would be when it's yellow and orange, but definitely still not bad at all. So the green Thomasville overall has a very acceptable sour citrus / lime taste. The smell is quite pleasant. The taste is quite pleasant. In terms of its uses, I mean, you can use this in cooking. You could use this if you're making jams and jellies and you need some acidity in there. You could use the zest too. I don't think it would probably bias more towards orange than lime, but it is somewhere in between. You get some cold hardy citrus that are kind of like that, where they're not just like one. But overall, very good, and I like having the opportunity to try this again at this time of year. Again, this is what Thomasville is going to look like for a lot of you who are growing it outdoors in Zone 7, even some Zone 8s, depending when you get your first frost. And of course, by a certain temperature, once you get into the 20s and stuff, your citrus fruit themselves, even if your plant's hardy, the fruit are susceptible to the cold. So you are still limited in terms of your ripening window. But if this is all a lot of you are going to be getting from your outdoor plants, this is just fine. You could still make a great pie out of this. You could still use it for preserves, use it for cooking. Very versatile fruit. So we're going to put that off to the side there. Now I am going to weigh the Keraji that we have here and try and get a Brix reading on it too, just because this is a new fruit for us and I want to have some of those measurements. But you can see, very clementine mandarin size and in appearance. And even though I could peel this, the peel's coming off quite easily, I'm still going to get the cross section on this, just so we could see that pretty inside. Nice, and let me give this a smell. Wow, this one smells really nice. This one smells like an orange, but this one has like a very deep, sweet mandarin smell. That is lovely. And look at that. So it literally looks like if you cut a clementine or a mandarin in half, and it's just a little more yellow in color. It's not a deep orange or even a lighter orange. It's a very like amber kind of color. So I hope that's coming through on the camera there. So even though the outside is that greenish yellow color, the inside we're still getting really nice color there. So I forgot, I do have to weigh this fruit, so before I lose any pieces of that, we'll just get a quick weight of this. The fruit's not a big fruit. It's on the small side for sure. let's see. So it is coming at just under 2 ounces, which in grams is just about 55.5 grams. So we will put that, let's see. So we have the weight there. Seeds, there's actually none. Quality, all right, I have a good feeling that this is going to be a good one here. Taste, smell, everything else. Okay, cool. Let's get a quick Brix reading. And then we can go into the qualitative measurements here, see how this thing tastes. So we have our Brix refractometer here, which will work nicely in this lighting. And we're just going to get a little squeeze of this juice onto here. Perfect, just like that. So with that drop in there, let's see what kind of readings we get. And we're looking at coming in just above an 8 here on the Brix. So actually that tells me this is going to be a more acidic fruit, depending on how much acid's actually in there. There's not a whole lot of sugar content. So with these two out of the way, we are good to get some of this peel out of the way, which I gotta say, this Keraji smells really good. Okay. So easy peel too. That came out really easily. And we can just break that apart, get a nice piece here. I'm really excited to try this one. But let's see how it is at this stage and at that sugar content. It's not bad. Obviously not as sweet as I expected, but it's not really acidic either. It's fairly mild, but it has a nice taste. It almost reminds me of some pomelos I've had. Let me see, I'm gonna take a bite of this other half here. That's very good. I don't know if I'm getting that whole lemonade taste, but again, this is an unripe fruit, and it's the first fruit on a first-year graft. So this is hardly a comparison if we were using a mature plant, but that's not bad at all. It has a really pleasant aroma in your mouth, despite it not being very acidic, not being very sweet. It's not bitter either. And in terms of uses, I mean, this is a dessert quality fruit otherwise. I mean, you can just eat this for pleasure. But of course, you could probably juice this or use it in any other ways you'd use a normal mandarin, use the zest, however you please. Which I'll actually take just a nibble off of this, though sometimes mandarins and oranges do have a bitter zest. So let's see. And you know what? The peel itself has a slight bitterness, but you get some sweetness at first. It's actually pleasant. So that zest would add a lot of nice flavor to something. So I'm quite pleasantly surprised there. Now again, I am looking forward to in the future having a fruit with just more maturity to the plant, and a plant being able to give more sugars to the fruit. We would get a higher quality fruit in the future. But for our first try of Keraji, and one of many tries of Thomasville, this was a pretty good taste test. We have a very good, hearty, acid citrus that's good down to 5 degrees and has no weird off flavors or trifoliate flavors, no pininess to it. And this Keraji Mandarin, I believe good down to 10 degrees. I think I've heard reports of a bit lower, maybe for very short durations. For how hearty this Mandarin is, it has a really nice taste, really nice aroma that actually makes me want to keep coming back, despite it not being the sweetest or strongest tasting fruit. despite its mildness, that aroma is really, really nice. So that's one of the things I love in some citrus is that particular aroma, whatever it is. I am a fan of that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video covering these two specific fruits. There will be more coming, and I'm happy to see already other YouTubers already posting really interesting citrus taste tests, which I always look forward to seeing as well. So make sure you check out some other channels too. It's that time of year. Citrus is ripening. It's finally here, and there's going to be a lot more fun taste tests to do. So I'll be happy to bring some more to you guys, but I hope you enjoyed this one featuring the Keraji Mandarin and the Thomasville Citrangequat. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.